Welcome to Conversations with Sarah. I'm Sarah Redden, Therapeutic Coach of SRTT, and today I'm joined by Lisa Snopek, triple cardiac arrest survivor, to talk about her experience of sudden cardiac arrest. Welcome, Lisa. Thank you for joining me.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you.
So I know you've got quite a big story to share of your personal experience and what went on for you. People that are listening, what is cardiac arrest?
A cardiac arrest is when your heart suddenly stops beating. It can be caused by many medical issues. It's an electrical issue within the organ.
Okay. So you had a cardiac arrest in 2017. So what actually happened for you?
So I had travelled up on the 5th of April to stay with relatives in Surrey. Most of that journey is completely wiped from my memory. My only memory is I can recall popping in to a McDonald's restaurant on the way.
Yeah.
I have no idea where it was, but I can remember walking in there.
Yeah.
We arrived at our relative's house. Don't remember being there. Apparently, in the evening, I walked in to the front room and I just collapsed to the floor. And it was described to me that I fell like a tree trunk and hit the furniture as I went down. I was lying unresponsive on the floor. I was not breathing. I had no pulse. I had effectively died.
Yeah. So in the day, are you aware of sort of any symptoms leading up to that, or is it just you don't remember anything at all?
I don't remember anything at all. Looking back, when you think, oh, there was that time I had that strange feeling in my chest, and was that something? Was that a sign? Should I've got that looked at?
Yeah.
But you're busy, you're going to work, you're trying to pack, you're going on holiday, you're going to visit people, and you don't take any notice.
Yeah. So it sounds like it kind of came out of nowhere for you, that it wasn't something that you were aware of having symptoms. Is like when you've talked about it with family, are they aware of you having any symptoms beforehand, or of saying anything that might have been, looking back on it now, may have been like, oh, okay, yeah, that was what was going on for me?
So the only thing I kept describing was that I kept seeing things that were floating around.
Okay.
Almost like I was seeing visual disturbances.
Yeah.
But I was very tired at the time. And I think my blood pressure was starting to rise as well. That had been noted at my GP surgery, that my blood pressure was getting higher.
Yeah. So really, it sounds like there wasn't kind of like alarm bells going on for you. There was nothing that your body was sort of like, there's some serious stuff going on, let's pay attention.
Nope, I had nothing that really made me sit up and think, I've got to do something. I need to be checked. Not at all. So
you got your family members, you effectively at that stage were dead. Yeah. What happened next?
So my husband had to call 999, check me, and he was given instructions to do CPR.
Yeah.
He was talked through giving me chest compressions, and he had to do them for 10 minutes until the paramedics arrived. He said it's the longest 10 minutes of his life.
Yeah, I can't imagine how shocking and emotional and stressful and just unreal. It can't have felt real for anybody experiencing that.
Yeah, and doing chest compressions, 10 minutes might not seem a long time.
Yeah.
But when you're physically pushing down on someone's chest 5 to 6 centimeters, because you have to get oxygen moving around that person if there's any chance of saving them.
Yeah,
it's very exhausting, the hard work.
Yeah, I mean, you were lucky, I guess, so lucky that he was there and knew what to do, was able to follow the instructions and do what needed to be done. So the ambulance got there. What happened once the ambulance arrived and the medical professionals were there?
So the ambulances came in, they attached me to the defibrillator. The defibrillator was showing that I had gone into something called ventricular fibrillation. And ventricular fibrillation is when your heart doesn't beat, your heart quivers like a jelly.
Right.
It cannot pump blood around the body like that.
Yeah.
So I was defibrillated to effectively stop my heart beating and for it to try and restart itself.
Wow.
I was defibrillated a few times, and eventually they managed to stabilize me. They got a heartbeat back.
Yeah.
And I was then transported to St. George's Hospital in Tooting in London.
Okay.
Which is one of the best cardiac hospitals in the UK.
So, I mean, I don't want to say that you were lucky, because I guess having that experience is not a lucky experience, but in the scheme of it all, it sounds like you were in the right place for it to happen and get the best care that you could get at that time.
Yes, that's right. I was told, if you weren't here, Lisa, if you weren't here on the outskirts of London, you would not be here now.
Yeah. Wow. And what happened? I mean, I'm guessing you don't remember a lot of what happened while you were in hospital. It's what people have told you went on for you. So when you got to the hospital, what happened there? What did they need to do to care for you?
So I cardiac arrested another 2 times when I arrived at St. George's. I had to be resuscitated. Again, I had this battle of, was I going to stay? Was I going to go? In the end, they won. And I was put into an induced coma. And I was put into a state called hypothermic state.
Okay.
And my body was chilled. Because I had not had normal levels of oxygen and my body had not been working properly, I had been dying dead at moments. My body could not just return to its full normal working state.
Yeah.
My temperature had to be lowered and I had to be slowly brought back to a level where my body could work. Yeah.
Wow. That, I mean, it's like TV, really, isn't it? I know it's your life, but like you kind of think, I guess for me, having that experience, you don't realize what can happen and how medical intervention can, because you said you were dead three times.
I was clinically dead.
Yeah. So how long did they keep you in the coma for?
That I'm not too sure, to be honest.
Okay,
I think it was like a few days.
Yeah.
My biggest memory is actually being brought out of the coma.
Yeah.
And I can remember taking all the like breathing equipment out of my mouth, the ventilator.
Yeah.
And I can remember them taking all the wires out of me. And I remember the pain as I come back round to consciousness.
Yeah.
And I can just remember in my head, I was just counting 1, 2, 3, just to get through this pain. And I was counting to see how long it was going to take them to get all of this machinery and equipment and out of me.
Yeah. And I mean, I've listened to some of your story before, and I know it's not a quick sort of recovery. What has helped you on your road to recovery?
So I became very determined after that. I decided if I can get up off my bed after that, then there's nothing I can't do if I want to do it. And if I put my mind to it. So though I became physically a lot weaker, mentally, I think it made me stronger. I did suffer with PTSD after the event, and I went for EMDR therapy, which is used to help treat patients after trauma. And that really got me back out there in the world. I wasn't afraid to go outside my front door in case I dropped dead anymore. I wasn't afraid to speak to people anymore because I was afraid of talking to them, because where I had hypoxic brain injuries through lack of oxygen, it became difficult to know words and to use the right words. And I struggled with my memory. But having EMDR therapy, it helped me realize that the trauma was stored in my body. Though I didn't actually remember events in my mind, my body actually was holding on to that trauma.
Because such a traumatic experience to go through and have no memory of.
But the body, it did remember. It remembered every little thing. And that EMDR therapy, it let me release all of it. It let me let it all go. I reenacted my cardiac arrest through my body.
How powerful.
It literally just released it all from me.
That you said it has left you with some effect in your life. Is there other things that have kind of come out of this experience for you?
So whilst I was recovering, I decided to go and have a Reiki session. It's the holistic approach to recovery. And I left my first session and it made me feel so much physically better. It helped me mentally. And I went home and I was just like, right, I'm going to train in this. And so I trained in Reiki. And through that, I then went on and became a Reiki master. And so now I have my own successful holistic business. And my experience with EMDR therapy actually made me think, okay, I want to train in hypnosis. And so now I have added hypnotherapy to my holistic business. And so the whole event took me away from the job that I had that was physically exhausting, mentally exhausting. And I now have a job working for myself, and it's a job that I absolutely love.
Was holistic therapy something you were aware of before, like, you had your cardiac arrest, or is it something that brought into your life?
No, I didn't know much about it at all. So it was definitely my cardiac arrests opened me up to seeing things in a whole new light. It wasn't my mind that remembered all the details, it was my body. I'd never realized that my body had such a memory.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that has been talked about a little bit. I think we've touched on some of the podcasts before, and it's something I talk about in my own practice, how like our body holds on to sort of these traumas and these stresses and unresolved emotions, and it's so powerful, isn't it, what we can be experiencing through having not kind of resolved or let go of or worked through or processed. It's such an interesting kind of way of thinking, isn't it, and connecting in with these therapies. I don't know, do you want to share, or how do you feel about sharing, because essentially you died, so what was that like? What happened? What do you have any memory of that?
So I remember dying. I once described it to somebody. I said, I just remember this sensation of the most gigantic hiccup I've ever experienced in my life. I remember it racking right through my body.
And
I described it as like, I felt like I all of a sudden jumped out. And I can remember looking down from above the scene, and I can remember looking down, and I can remember them working on me and below.
And how has that changed the way in which you view life from before that incident to now? Has that changed the way you look at life?
So now I've always thought of myself as a person, obviously. But now I tend to think of myself as a form of energy within a body. I see myself as an energy that can go in and out.
So has it changed the way you live your life?
Definitely. So I now have a much greater holistic approach to life. I won't tolerate drama, stress. I'm just like, no, life's too short for that. If it doesn't serve me, if it doesn't give me anything useful, then I'm like, no, sorry, I just can't do that, and I will just walk away. Because life's just too short.
And that's it, isn't it? It's curating a life of joy, a life of fulfillment, and like we can get caught up in this idea of being busy and being productive and doing all of these things, and what an experience to have to go through, but to realize that there's more that you can have in this life, isn't there? What advice do you have advice that you would give to people who like have been affected by this, or are concerned that it might be something that might happen to them? Is there any resources that you would direct them to, or any words of wisdom that you'd pass on?
So we do have a Facebook group, and it's called Sudden Cardiac Arrest UK. I've actually written articles for the charity. And if you're affected by sudden cardiac arrest, if it's in your family, if you are someone who has done CPR, then they do offer support, and they do have their Facebook pages, groups that you can join. I also think it's how you think about what's happened, because I can understand why it's quite easy when these things happen to you to be really affected by them and to be stuck in that place of low mood. But thankfully for me, it really did just make me more determined that if I can come back from this is the worst thing that could have actually happened. Because
you were really quite young as well in 2017. Like, obviously I can see you, people can't see you necessarily, but how old were you then?
I was 35.
So that really is not, or to me that's not an age that you're expecting somebody to have a cardiac arrest and essentially die.
Yeah, but there are a lot younger people as well. Cardiac arrest, it can affect children as well.
Yeah.
You know, age is not a factor with cardiac arrest.
Yeah. So there's places you can go, like resources like the NHS, I guess, where you can get, or whatever country you're listening in, resources to help you with awareness about heart health and things that can help you protect yourself.
Yeah, because prevention rather than cure is a big thing as well these days. You know, if you're worried, there are charities, there are groups like SADS out there, and they like to organize heart checks for people if they're concerned, to try and catch any abnormalities, any arrhythmias before they actually become an issue.
And did the medical professionals ever kind of give you a reason as to why this might have happened for you?
So I gave samples of my blood at the time for research. And I have been contacted by London recently, and they have told me that my blood samples are being used for research.
Okay.
I am known as idiopathic. They know that I was in ventricular fibrillation. They know my heart was beating like a jelly. Well, it was really quivering. It wasn't beating. They don't know the actual reason why, but I do have to go back to London in the next few months. Hopefully it will be this year, and looking into my genetics, because since my event, other members of my family have been diagnosed with issues with their heart.
Wow.
And so our genetics need looking into, because they obviously don't know what it is right now, but there is something that must link us.
Yeah. And as you say, sort of having that knowledge and being able to put things in place to prevent, it's important, isn't it?
It is. And if it doesn't help me, if I never know the actual cause, it doesn't matter. My data, my information, my DNA, they need to take some more samples of blood from me when I see them. If that can help other people in the future, then for me, that's what's important. Because it also might be that it's like my children's children that might need some of this information in the future.
Yeah. And do you need a lot of or I don't know how to quantify that, do you have continual medical care now that needs to happen?
So I am now fitted with an ICD. It's a device that's fitted into the valve of your heart, a wire's put down, and it's a defibrillator. And it can detect if my heart goes into a dangerous rhythm, and it can alter it. If it gets to a point where my heart gets to the point again that it's going to just stop, this device in my heart will defibrillate me. I have a box next to my bed, and if I have the slightest strange movement in my chest, if I feel unwell, if there's anything that makes me sit up and think, oh, I press the button and it sends the link straight to the local hospital here in Plymouth. And
so it is something that you kind of have to be mindful of, I guess, every day, and really consider what is going on with your body and how you're feeling, and doing everything to best support your health.
Yes, my body has become a temple.
Yeah, and I guess that's not a bad thing. It's just unfortunate that you went through this massive life-changing experience to get to that stage.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I could sit here and kind of ask you all the questions, lots that I would like to know, but I don't want to pry like into all of your personal stuff, but also I'm very aware that we're getting to the end of time. So if this feels like an okay place to stop, is this okay? Is this an okay place for you to finish? Is there anything
Absolutely.
you want to leave people listening with if they've kind of got any concerns, if they're worried or like they've been affected by this? Is there anything that you feel it's important that people listening hear and go away with?
I just think if people are ever worried, if they're ever unsure about if was that a strange movement in their chest, was that something odd going on with their heart, then they should definitely go and get it checked. The thing out there is now definitely prevention is better than cure. And I think it's really important when you've gone through something like sudden cardiac arrest, but anything in life, I think it's really important to have that support network, because the medical industry, they are flat out right now.
Yeah.
And you do need to surround yourself with people who are like you, who've been through what you've been through, and you can support each other.
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of coping and recovering.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lisa. And what I'll do is I'll get the links from you of the places that you've suggested, and as well as your links for your business, and I'll pop those. They'll be in the show notes and on the Facebook page. So thank you so much for coming and speaking with me and sharing some of your story with me today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone that's listening. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. I would love to hear your feedback and suggestions. And to find out more about me and my guests, visit srtt.co.uk or follow SRTT Podcast on social media. I'll be back next Wednesday with a new guest. Until then, stay curious and be kind to yourself.